Talk about the championship first of all. That had to be, and certainly in Jewel history, a one-of-a-kind thing. But what are your best memories of the championship season?
Well, it was a season where the kids were totally aware that they were good enough to play anybody, anywhere, anytime. And they performed well above some of their abilities, which I don't think my assistants made that much difference, but it was a case of where a good player really inspired a weaker player to be better. And that performance was right at the right time, and that was the difference, really.
Was it a team that really obviously peaked at the right time? You know, the College World Series, is that kind of what happened?
Pretty much, yes. We won our conference, of course, and then won the district. And we just kept getting better as we went along. And we, all the competition that we met was as good or better. I know we played the Oklahoma representative the first game of the regional, and when we beat them, who was ranked very high, I don't remember exactly, and from that game on we just didn't falter until we was in the semifinal game against Georgia Southern and we got beat. But Terry Doolittle made the comment before that game that all we got to do is play 500 ball and we win this thing, and that was exactly what it was. We lost on Friday, we won on Saturday, and of course Larry LeBeer hitting that home run in the bottom of the 13th, he'll never forget, and I know none of us will ever forget it.
I'm sure.
I always laugh because the night of our first game in that tournament, Larry and I were standing out by the left field line and next to the fence, and he said, "Boy, I'd like to hit one out of this place." And I told him, "Well, if you do, I'll buy you a six-pack." So anyway, I still owe him. But anyway, that was an excellent situation. But I'll tell you, the key to the whole thing was the teams prior to them, because they were successful, and success breeds success. And it was interesting, you know, over the years how it all fell in place, and it was just great to work with kids that were good students, hard workers, and loved to play.
Last moment of the game, the last pitch of that World Series, when you won it, what was that like?
Well, I was pretty confident that we were going to win that tournament. I just didn't express it. And I was tickled to death it was Larry LeBeer, because the newspapers and everything were all over him for the tournament performance that he was having, which wasn't real outstanding. But when he hit that home run, that was the secret of the whole ball game. Yeah.
Keep in touch with those guys a lot?
Yeah, we get together. We've been up several times for the golf tournament and other activities in our recognition. We were all together when we were put in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame here a few years ago. And through a lot of the efforts and hard work of Rich Stoneham and some of the other guys, they've done a good job of continuing to keep the ball team in the eye of the public.
Could you talk about some of those guys on the team, maybe even what they're doing now, but some of the key members of that team? You've mentioned a couple already.
Well, Larry is teaching. Terry Doolittle is retired, pretty much. I'm just trying to think. Dickie Michael was our second baseman. He's retired now. I was an administrator in the education business for a long time, and some of the others, Bob Bushman, I've kind of lost track of him. He's back in St. Louis. Pat Mann, still over in the Olathe area. And I'm not real sure exactly what all businesses they're in, but we try to get together homecoming and visit a little. Yeah.
I would imagine the national championship was one of the highlights of your career. Was it the top highlight of your career?
Well, I guess you have to say it was, yeah, the diamond of the all. But it was just a part of the whole show that I was here for so many years. And I had struggling years at the end, just like everybody does. And but I think just to have the opportunity to be here at William Jewell through the assistance of Dr. Patterson, who knew me as an athlete in college, and he was one who I learned an awful lot about recruiting and being honest with the kids in terms of what we were going to offer them. And other than athletics, we were offering them an outstanding education. And we've always said, you've got a good union card when you graduate from here.
That's good.
Anyway, yeah.
That part hasn't changed much, but what else has changed since you left Jewell?
Well,
as far as Jewell is concerned,
just watching Jewell into the transition of the NCAA, which of course presents a few humps that are going to need to be overcome. And of course there's a great deal of restriction on athletes and aid and all that now. But I am glad to see there's more emphasis being presented towards the academic end of it. And William Jewell was always doing that. It's just a matter now that your pool is so much smaller when you're dealing with the more achievers, and there's just a world of good schools.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're still involved in baseball a little bit. You were
Yeah, I'm doing a little associate scouting for the Kansas City Royals.
Okay. What have you done since leaving Jewell, besides that?
Well, I've been raising a lot of garden. I raised black diamond watermelons. That was a kind of a hobby of mine when I was a kid, and that's pretty much what I've been doing, and try to keep up with my 3 sons and their families, and so doing good. Health-wise, I'm doing very well.
Besides the World Series championship, what's your fondest memory of Jewell?
Well, I guess just the opportunity to have been here, really. It presented me a lot of great memories. Yeah. Yeah, I started against William Jewell as a football player at Baker. And we played Jewell here one day. The sandburrs were so bad on that field, I didn't want to fall down. And I did get lucky and run a punt back on them. And they beat us 14-7. I remember that game. And but I had never thought at that time that I'd ever be here, you know. And I was aware of the college for years because I was aware of Baker, and had a great uncle that graduated from Baker way back when, and so that was kind of why I ended up at Baker instead of coming other school, you know,
Yeah.
in most cases.
Where'd you go from there?
I taught in the public schools in Kansas and Nebraska. And then I was here at Liberty before I came to William Jewell. Yeah. And that was back when Norris Patterson was athletic director and coach here then. Yeah. I said the opportunity of being around Norris Patterson, Jim Nelson, and Darrell Gorley, and Larry Hamilton, who were all part of the staff. As a young coach, you can learn an awful lot from those people. And I tried to soak up as much of it as I could, if you know what I mean.